Hey, it's John and the big bright yellow shirt guy. John and Mike from brew-dudes.com. And we have in front of us a yellowish beer. It's a pale ale.
Pale ale.
And this is, according to Mike, this is pale ale number 6.
Number six.
So we talked about number 5 because I remember like some allusions to Mambo number 5, which was really embarrassing. We tried not to talk about it. But here we are, pale ale number 6. You know the drill. He's going to talk about it, and I'm going to drink it and then talk about it later. Hey.
So this beer,
this is good.
What this beer is all about is I've been playing around with batch sizes. We'll be talking about that in a future video. But what this is about is trying to do more with less. And I've been repurposing some of my equipment to do complete closed fermentation. Or to be able to take better advantage of being able to CO2 flush things. So this is a pale ale. Let me just give you the basic recipe. I love Belgian Dingman's Pilsner malt. Absolutely love it. It's my favorite Pilsner malt. So this is 80% of that Pilsner malt.
Good to know.
And 20% Weirmann Light Munich, about 7 Love. So 80-20. I went with that split because like classic Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is about 80-20, but that 20% is like Crystal 40.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get away from that. I really want to play with, in my mind, a Pale Ale with Light Munich just sounds great to me. So the hopping on this baby, it's 1.5 ounces of Cascade for 60 minutes, and then it's Cascade and Amarillo for 10 minutes, both 2 ounces each of that, so 4 ounce total charge of it's Cascade and Amarillo. And then I dry hop this sucker with one
That's what I need to know.
glorious ounce of Citra.
Yes. Okay. That was going to be my first
But the
guess.
beauty of it is 1
ounce.
So I fermented this with the Verdant IPA yeast,
Yes.
right?
We like that.
Fermented this at about 62, and then I let it ramp up on its own. Obviously, I don't try to control that. And then I move it to about a space that I have that's about 70 degrees to finish as it started to really slow down. It only really was in the fermenter for maybe 5 or 6 days. I'm able to really grind it through here, so it goes pretty good. And yeah, starting gravity on this baby was 1048, and it finished at 1010. So
Okay.
it's just around 5%.
No, that's great. And then the water.
Oh, water. So yeah, so I'm really been getting into the routine now. Is I'm using basically Poland spring water or the local grocery store's version of that spring water too, because I've looked up the water reports for both. I think it's like Deer Park or something but if you look at Poland spring water, I've said this before, we can do another video on this if somebody wants it, but the amount of minerals in that spring water is actually really pretty low, such that you would need to add something to that water anyway to make your mash work. So in my mind, it's behaving very similar to RO water. So it's spring water that I've added to it, and I have it right here on my handy dandy sheet. This is 1.5 grams of calcium chloride and 3.2 grams of calcium sulfate for a water profile, my friend, of 72 ppm's calcium, 0.9 of magnesium, 49 of chloride, and 108 of sulfate. So,
hey.
And I also add at the beginning, I did 1 ml of lactic acid to help in the mash water.
Yep.
So, so there we go.
Well, I don't know where I start because all aspects of this are fairly tremendous, sir. And you know, it's hard to keep your voice down when you bring the beer up to your nose and you're like, okay, this is going to be something good. So we'll start with the appearance. Hazy, golden color, little highlights coming through. The aroma is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Tropical citrus notes married together in a beautiful ceremony. Just, it's beautiful. And then, you know, it comes through in the flavor too.
Yep.
I was surprised that there's, yeah, I guess it's there. You know, Cascade to me has, I think it's because it's the blending of Cascade, Amarillo, and Citra together. There's not a lot of that grapefruit bite from the Cascade, especially because you had that early in the boil or the process. In any case, it's the hops are just wonderfully blended together.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable. There's no bite. I think the 1 ounce dry hop, I think that is beautiful. And I think your process, which you're going to get into, right? You're going to talk about how this was
the closed process.
A closed process. So we should talk about that, because I think that's really, it's going to hold up this quality for a long time. You're not going to see diminishing returns over time. Like, this is fresh, but I'd say, like, even in a few weeks, it's still going to be as potent as it is today. All right, so talk about the closed
So what
process.
I've been doing is brewing slightly smaller batch sizes. So instead of 5, I used to do about 5.5 gallons. I've pared down to 3 gallons. And the reason for that is I've been fermenting the last several beers in my corny kegs. And I've trimmed about 2 to 3 inches off the big dip tube, just so that when fermentation's done, I can leave the tube and stuff in the keg, and it's been working fantastic. That's more than enough. And you're sacrificing some volume, but again, I'm trying to just brew great beer, not gallons of beer, right? I mean, I'm really focused on, because I can always switch back over to the bigger system once I have a recipe that works out anyway. And the reason for the smaller batch size too is that in a corny keg is about 5 gallons, so you want to have headspace for the Krausen and stuff like that, so it doesn't start coming out the thing. For an airlock, I just use the gas in post. I put the gray connector on there with a piece of tubing into a pitcher of water, and it bubbles away from there perfectly fine. And so then once fermentation looks like it's done, I can take the coupler off, and it's fully sealed. And I can put it in a cold environment. It'll cold crash without worrying about suck back in an airlock, any of that jazz. And then the best part then is when I'm ready to package the beer, I completely purge out a keg. I've been buying the Torpedo mini kegs, the smaller kegs, 2.5 gallon kegs. They used to be up on the shelf back there, but they're all in service now. So, so what I do is I can fill with sanitizer a mini keg, push it out with CO2, and I'm not using as much CO2 to do a 2.5 gallon keg versus clearing a full 5 gallon keg, which I like. Just trying to be a little more economical, a little bit easier about it. And then I can hook up the CO2 again. I have a black to black jumper from the 5 gallon keg fermentor to the receiving keg. And when it transfers over, I can see right away that it's not like yeasty or whatever. It's just so that dip tube is in the right place, just transfers it over. So I get a completely closed transfer, and I never open it. It just never gets opened. And then from there, it goes in the fridge, chills down, hook up CO2, and hit it with the PSI. Now, I did dry hop the keg, and I'm not a fan of playing around with hop bags and magnets and all that. I mean, I think that's a cool technique. The guy who invented that and uses it. But I just don't need more stuff to futz around with. So the way I dry hopped this, though, is I did, we just had this big discussion about closed, but what I did is I put my CO2 on it at like 2 psi, so it's flowing CO2. And then I sanitize a stainless steel mesh cylinder, which we've talked about before. I put my 1 ounce of hop in there, and then I quickly open the thing and I slowly drop it in there. And the beer is down there, actually. It's not like right at the top. So I slowly drop it in there, and I'm purging CO2 as I go into it, and then I let it go and seal it up. So is it getting O2 in there? Absolutely. But it's certainly less than if you didn't do anything like that.
Sure.
So, but other beers that I'm not dry hopping remain completely closed. So trying to preserve some delicate flavor profiles with that.
Well, they're certainly here, I think. That's great. That's a good process.
The other thing about the keg too is if you want to ferment under pressure, you're ready to go with that. If you want to spund, you're ready to go with that. It's all because you've got those posts. It'll take 60 psi.
That's crazy.
So it's using those fermenters as kegs, as long as you're willing to sacrifice not having 5 gallons. And for me, I prefer variety than I do volume. So for us, with the channel, it's like, let's brew this, let's brew this, let's brew this. And, so we just want to, it's easy to crank out 2.5. So in the end, I end up transferring about 2.5 gallons into the mini keg and leave a significant amount of beer behind, but I don't care.
It's better to make smaller batches of great beer than larger batches of good beer.
Yeah.
That's how we.
Well, I'll put it this way. It's better to make smaller batches of great beer and drink it all than it is to make 5 gallons of great beer and dump most of it out, right?
That's heartbreaking.
Because you need to make room in a keg.
True that. All right.
I love the way that the Amarillo sings in this for me. I love.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more tangerine than it is the grapefruit stuff. There's a pithiness. I get a pithiness all together.
As it's warming. Yep.
And that's what I want in my American pale ale. So.
Right on. I love the idea that you can get a nice malty background without the crystal or caramel malts from American. So that's great. I think the big takeaways I'm getting from this is Belgian Pils.
Yeah.
The light Munich, that's like just keep it simple, keep the grain bill simple. And then love the combination of Cascade, Amarillo, and Citra. And then the Verdant IPA dry yeast strain for the win.
Yeah.
I think it's all that coming together with your just simple water that you bought from the store, backing it with just some brewing salts for taste. And I think this is a winner, man. This is really good.
I love this one.
Oh, great. I mean, like, again, couldn't hold it back. Putting it up to my nose, I was like, all right, this is going to be something wonderful. So, all right. Well, that is a great pale ale to try. It's only taken them 6 tries to get there. But hold on to this one. This is a good one for sure. This would be a good one for a party if we're trying to impress our neighbors and friends. So pale ale number 6. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked what you see, give us a thumbs up. Check out our other pale ale videos. Mike's made at least 5 others. You can probably find number 5 if you do a nice search for Brew Dudes Pale Ale number 5. And watch that one as well. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, brew on.
Cheers.